Today we'll be creating this loosely inspired painting of the bridge over Monet's famous lily pond in acrylic colour, and we'll be using the 24-piece acrylic colour set, so let's get into it. As well as the 24-piece acrylic colour paint set, we'll also be using a 30 by 40 single thick canvas. For brushes, we'll be using the acrylic brush set. There are 10 brushes in the set and they are contained in a cool zippered wallet. To mix our paint on, we'll be using the tear-off paper palette. The first step is to tint our canvas with a dark green. To create this colour, we can mix phthalo green, sap green and a touch of lamp black and cover the canvas. This way we can lay lighter colours over the top so that the dark tone beneath can be seen in parts. This way we don't have to add darks to balance it all out. Monet actually used a light colour ground in order to establish his scale of values. The ground became an element in the paintings, with small areas either being left unpainted or very lightly covered. Monet also used oil paints and painted on quite large canvases, so obviously quite different from our Monet-inspired project. Once the green background is on, we can paint the bridge in with titanium white. This comprises of 2 arcing lines with 3 sets of uprights. We have supplied a reference sheet outlining this that can be found on our website. This will be detailed at the end. While you're here, don't forget to take a look around the Create section on our site and uncover a whole heap of free stuff, from free projects, handy tips and tricks and techniques to keep you busy. We can then start on the trees. Squeeze out some titanium white, lemon yellow, medium yellow, crimson, phthalo blue, purple, cerulean blue, burnt umber and burnt sienna. Using the number 6 round, dip the brush in the sap green and start to lay in the willow tree on the left hand side of the canvas with short vertical strokes. As we move down the canvas, dip the brush into other colours to get a variance in the colour. One of the features of Monet's paintings was the multitude of colours he achieved due to the oil paints he used, in a sense contaminating each other, so he got a myriad of amalgamated tones. The problem with using acrylics is they dry quickly and don't blend together as readily as oils. But we can sort of emulate the effect by using a variety of colours from the palette. If we refer to the colour guide, we can see approximately where the trees lie. As we lay these in, we can roughly mix various colours into the greens to create differing tones for the trees. At this stage, we slowly work over the canvas and concentrate on creating as much interest as we can. Monet's garden at Giverny was a constant inspiration for him, and as well as the famous lily pond, the garden was planted with an abundance of flowers: bamboo, flowering cherry trees, apple blossom trees and weeping willows. The garden was constantly changing over the seasons, so he always had something new to paint. This part of the painting comes together quite quickly. Remember to contrast colours against one another. The pond outline and rough area where the lilies will be situated is roughly drawn in with a pastel. For the area where the reeds meet the water, add a darker tone to suggest shadow. Continually keep adding colours to diversify the tones. I've seen a few of Monet's paintings where he suggested the sky peeking through the trees. In this case, we lay in some cerulean blue. As well as varying the tones, vary the weight of the paint strokes, and as a rule, lay light colours over darks. We can then apply the elliptical shapes in white to suggest the lilies. The lilies in the distance will obviously be smaller, moving to larger the closer they are to viewer. These will be detailed further, but for now we just want to establish an attractive composition of them. The best way to get a clean elliptical shape is to hold the brush on its side and release pressure at the end of the stroke. As I said before, the lily pads in the foreground are much larger. The reflections can be laid in with vertical lines between the lilies. Like the trees, the tones should be varied. I use a small round to lay these strokes in. Don't worry if you go over the lily pads a bit, as we'll be going over these again with another coat of paint after the reflections are in. You will notice the water in the foreground is free from colour. This is because it is in shadow from the bridge. Some colour is, however, scumbled in, though in this case some sienna and dirty blue. After the reflection is done, we can mix a touch of sap green with titanium white and another with phthalo blue and titanium white. The mixes should be very light. These can then be laid over the lily pads here and there. We can then add splashes of colour in red, yellow and whites to suggest the flowers on the lily pads. The flowers in the distance can just be small blobs, and in the foreground the flowers will be more formed. To balance everything out, we create a dark tone from phthalo blue, crimson and viridian green. This will look almost black. Paint this tone under the lily pads and any areas of deep shadow. The bridge can be painted in with a light green and blue. The dark tones can be laid in to suggest the shadow on the bottom part of the bridge. This tone can be created by mixing phthalo blue, crimson and phthalo green. Finally, we can lay some of this dark tone into the areas of shadow. The final step is to lay some highlights onto the bridge with titanium white. And voila! Well, thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed the project and really hope you give this painting a try. Otherwise, have fun, keep on creating, and we'll see you in the next one.